All right, so my bad is the fact that Liquid is kind of in a holding state where essentially they obviously want to get rid of Shox, but they aren't getting rid of him for Dallas. So they're basically playing a useless event in terms of where they see themselves and what they think their future is with this roster. But at the same time, the people you would probably want to replace Shox are, in my eyes, like an automatic type, a floppy type, and those guys are pretty much hard stuck on their rosters. So I don't really see where Liquid goes from here, given the fact that it's already been made semi-publicly via rumors, which have more or less been confirmed. I hate how this terminology we have to use for Counter-Strike with the rumors and everything, but it is what it is. Shox is leaving, and they need someone to replace him, but the people that you want to replace him are on contracts already.
I mean, you do have the fact that it is Shox you're replacing, so you don't necessarily have to go with an NA player, so to speak. I agree with you. I think Auti would be a decent, reasonable fit there, you know, personality-wise as well. Floppy, I don't know if Complex is going to let him go right now. I'm sure they're going to be going through changes, and they're going to be making sure they stick with Floppy. He's the best player in the team right now. But why not EU? You know, why not fuck it, man? Just fucking get your Kinder or something wild like that. Do something wild. Someone can speak English. There are quite a few of them.
Sure. No, I'm sort of with you on that one. The thing for me with Liquid is this, right? I think genuinely, I'm not one of these people who does that thing where I like blame Elise. I actually hate that fucking is a real narrative that exists now, where there's like a low-key people like, it's all Elise. He did, you know that stuff you said years ago, thought he does that every game, he's passive-aggressive and he fucking he chokes. It's like, it isn't one guy, mate. I know he's the only connecting factor, but that actually is not the case whatsoever. Like, Liquid doesn't even choke now, they just lose games because they're not very good. They're not even doing any of that shit that people say from years ago. So my problem with this team goes like this. Since they kept Elysian Nav, and they have been in this team for fucking ages now, and somehow they didn't admittedly at this major, but in this all the variants of this lineup, they always get theirs. But they always get theirs in one of those ways where it reminds me of when Nico was in FaZe without an IGL. And it's like, if you always get yours no matter what, but the team never wins, doesn't even really get close to it. like, at some point, are you getting yours because essentially you just have full autonomy or something? Or do you not play in the team structure? Or do you never, like, sacrifice a bit to help another teammate? Like, are you connected to the team, basically? That's what I always wonder about. So in their team, I would say this. If those two are your star players, then fucking own it and actually pick players that are sick role players that are going to fill in holes around those guys, and then trust those guys to be the horses dragging you to the finish line. If they're just players, and we're like the old Liquid teams, a constellation of skilled players, and we figure out our thing, then you need really skilled players. And the other players, sure, the OC thing, like, he's still pretty young in his career. He hasn't made it thus far at the tier 1 AWP level in terms of the top lands. But okay, he's at least got the potential to change. The others, like, realistically, it isn't good enough at the moment. They don't have a good enough IGL in terms of IGLing. The firepower, I know they're going to go, what about those games earlier? Who gives a fuck? We're talking about the deep games in a major. You didn't make Team Liquid to get to the second stage of the major. You made it to be in the playoffs, mixing it up, hopefully go to at least semi-finals. That should be the minimum for a call like this. So I think the problem they have as a squad is they're just a much of nothing. Like, if you know the backstory of the off-season, like, as much as I can bring out the tiniest violin, yes, they failed to get nearly all of the people they wanted. They nearly even lost bloody Naf, and they just got him last second. They got him back in the team. Like, it's true, a lot of people turned them down. It reminds me of when Henry made Cloud9's lineup, and spoiler, almost none of those people were on the top of the fucking shortlist. They were at the bottom of the shortlist, and he just had to decide who was left after everyone said no. But even so, that's the problem I have here. It's like, mate, this used to be a team that won a Grand Slam. This was a team that was a favourite for majors, one of the best in the world. Like, the lineup and the players does not currently reflect that. It doesn't. Like, the best case scenario for this team for me would be if they'd have had amazing cohesion and Nitro came back sort of like great IGL in, seemed like you've had the feel for the game. I even think then they'd be like 6th. They wouldn't be a top team. They wouldn't win tournaments. It just wouldn't happen. So I think they need to rethink the whole identity of the team. I think you need to literally, I know people hate to do this because pro players don't think this way. You need to genuinely go away and use like the simplistic modelling I invented about something like 9 years ago in Counter-Strike, where it's like, it's essentially, I took it from things like Dota, if people don't know the concept of farm distribution. It's like everyone can't have all the resources. So then my premise is, let's figure out who the people we're going to give all the resources to are. Let's figure out who can operate on essentially a low economy basis. Let's figure out who doesn't need utility, who don't. These are things you've got to figure out. You can't just throw people in the server and go, they're all great players, they'll all figure it out. It's like, I don't know about that. And then I've got to say this angle finally as well. Whenever, ever, does anyone ever stop and go, what's Adren doing? He's been there for fucking ages, boys, now. And is he the only coach in the world that's allowed to not have any results and then just coast on? People are asking for Xstas to be fired from G2 after those results. People want, like, big-name coaches to fuck out the door when some of these things happen. So all I'll say is, like, I think there's a lot of blame to be shared. And I think, genuinely, I don't even know what the answer is, because I feel like they, as a team, have to figure out what the fuck is our identity. Because at the moment, like I say, they're not even a bad team. It's like the players can have okay performances, but they're not really anything. Like, there's no danger if you play Team Liquid. Yeah, they could win a game off a lesser team earlier. No one would be scared if they were at the major and they drew Liquid in the quarterfinals. No one's scared of that. No one is.
I mean, if you look at the results this team has had, and again, they've been around almost as long as this new Vitality lineup. The only impressive win I've seen from them has to be when they took down Heroic in Pro League, which is legit. That was a great right
for
there.
Sure.
And then they took down Astralis at the major, but then again, it's Astralis. We're not, Heroic are way better than Astralis. Let's be fucking real about this. Apart from that, the results, man, they've lost to almost every other team who are we consider good or reasonable. So it's been a while. And for me, the question is, just to add on to what he said there, Duncan, who wears the captain's hat in this team? Like, who is the guy deciding this is our identity? Is it a Dren? He's barely there. He was barely there in Pro League, for example, for obvious personal reasons. I totally understand that. You get in Shox over there too. You can see Shox calling so much in the team as well, right? Which is great. He's giving his input and whatnot. But who is the leader of men in that team? Who's the guy who's like, all right, guys, this is our identity, as you said. This is the way we're going to be, the direction we're going to be going towards. I feel like there's so many voices, or just a complete lack of one strong voice. Everyone just mumbling, I want to do this, I want to do that, but no one really putting the foot down. And I think I feel like they need to figure that out, basically.
By the way, for people who don't know, those people in the past was Stewie 2K in the 2019 lineup and Zeus as the coach before that. That's even the angle I think people always miss about Nitro. The best year of Nitro calling was when he had Zeus behind him. And it's never looked the same since, boys.
Yeah, I'll just tell you that Shox has already said that, like, Nitro's not really a captain. There was like a French interview that he did, and I had thankfully like a fan that helped me translate this one, and I verified it more or less with like Yahoo closed captioning, and there's basically just like, or YouTube that is, but
is that a 1PV one?
Yeah, 1PV. Yeah, 1PV one. Yeah, so he helped me like fully translate it, but I looked at it. Okay, either way, Shox already said that Nitro was not really calling with his chest. Like, he would say, hey guys, I think we should do like this. Like, that's how he'd phrase it. And then he would also say things like Elige would get emo if things aren't going well, Elige would just get emo and go silent. And he said this on a fucking interview. Like, he's willing to say this stuff publicly, that Elige will just shut up for like 4 rounds straight if things aren't going his way. So
probably did know he was fired from the team, I'm imagining, with this ambience of this interview, to be fair. Yeah,
I'm sure there's he already knows what's going on.
Yeah, exactly.
But like, the thing is that you hear that and you're just like, I have no faith in this roster, because even one of their own players is not even buying into any part of the system or whatever the system is for this team. So yeah, I think that Liquid is like so far away, and I think you have to look like, I think this brings us to a conversation we were probably having 5 months ago about, is Elige like really the NA GOAT if he is like so horrible as a captain and interpersonal player? Like, and I think that the answer is, how could he be? And if I really want to answer that question, I think it has to be just Stewie or Twist. That's the NA GOAT. But either way, I think Elige, like, as a player, his skills are invaluable, but at the same time, his what he brings in terms of atmosphere to a team is like, you want to get rid of this more than anything.
Do you want me to push back on that? Here's one for you.
Yeah.
If you want to have that discussion, mate, there's another door that opens behind that. It's called Nico, mate. And it ain't a fucking pretty one. It's not a lot of people have the balls to have that convo, because guess what? Have you ever seen Nico frag out in a team? It's only been something like 6 months when the team's the number one team or wins, mate. He tends to frag out in the teams that aren't that good, suggests he just gets everything because the team's in panic mode. Then in the teams that he has the big pieces in, he has his issues with them. He's never had the IGLs that fit. Like, but I agree with you. Look, there's some of that to some degree, but my problem with this is, like, if I put Twist back in this team and they're winning, so wouldn't that change his whole storyline? You know what I mean? That's the problem. If I put Elysian face, does that change it? Would he listen to Carrigan? That's why it's tough to do these discussions. It's a valid point. It's an open discussion. I'm with you on that. Yeah.
Well, I think that if Elige were in FaZe, it's like
if he was in Robs' spot in FaZe, I think he'd be a pretty good player, mate.
If he took rain spots, I think Elige is better. I think Elige is better than Rain. I think that team would be better. Yeah. And I think the thing is that you would listen to Kerrigan more, and I think I think the team could probably win like 7 more events if it's Elige instead of instead of Rain.
The thing is, if you're in a stage game and shit's not going your way, and one of your player can't fucking play because of COVID, and you have someone in subbing in, is he going to shut the fuck up for 4 rounds straight with Karrigan calling?
Okay.
Would he?
You'd hope so. That should really be the test, by the way. If you won't, then get the fuck out.
I think Elige has surrounded himself with yes men, and I think that's the biggest problem with Liquid. I think in a way, Naf, Adren, and Nitro are all yes men to Elige at this point. That's the biggest.
Here's the problem, Maui, because this is actually where I do connect Elige to Nico. They have a major flaw that goes like this: if they don't know you or they don't like you, they have the highest possible standards you have to meet before it's acceptable, right? But for some reason, if they like you or you have already been a teammate, the flaw for the standards just drops through. It just makes them look silly. Because I've always said this to Nico: it's like, mate, if you can't be IGL'd by Karrigan, like, you are aware there's only one name left in the fucking list, and he ain't coming to your team. Like, your standards are too high. But then here's the problem: I want to take you at face value and go, I believe you can't handle it. You just don't like his style, right? But then on the other hand, you're like, get me Exist or Pronax. It's like, well, bro, what are we doing here? What is this? Like, what fucking clown world is this? What metrics are we going off? You know, like, did he just fucking say something cool in a bar or something? What have you been watching CS the last 4? You know, you just, it's like, that's what I wonder with the guys, because here's where I'll sort of tie it in. I sort of agree with you. I do agree with this. It's a problem I've always had with Nico. It's like, you know, when people say all I want is to win, what they usually mean by that is like, I want to win, but like kind of like the way I envision it with the people I would enjoy playing with, and I want to win because playing this style, and I wouldn't want to win if I had to do these dirty tasks in the game, or if I had to move to Europe. Like, the real problem with these guys is like I say, there's very few people. This is where I'll give the edge to Twists. There's very few people would do what Twists did and go, fuck it, I'm going to literally move to another continent. By the way, during the most nightmare period of all time to be moving between countries, I'm going to move to another continent. I'm going to totally commit. And by the way, if this fails, this is what people don't think about. People would just be like, NA players are overrated, you shit, get out. And it would actually cripple your career, because they're not going to look at the other players, Rops and fucking Karrigan, and go, they were the failure. They're going to look at you. You're going to get the blame, and you're going to be fucking back off. So there's a difference. Elige wouldn't do that. Elige will stay in his little Team Liquid nest, his fucking comfort zone, and he'll keep doing whatever he's doing with the players that come in and out. And you'll notice he does do an eco as well, which is, even though, as far as I know, at least spiritually, even if they don't say it, the whole team is constructed around like, what would Elige think, or would he like that, or would he be willing to play this guy? But then they also do that thing I hate, which is, when it comes to actually being like, well, whose fault was it for this team being made? They're like, whoa, I never said anything. What do you mean? I'm just another guy. That I agree. If you want to be a winner, and let's be real, you got to get a good resume to be the GOAT.
Dude,
that ain't a great angle. That's not a good look, I'll tell you that. That's never going to play well, because the problem is there's no history books where they go, and now the GOAT discussion, we'll bring on the player to make all the excuses for why he didn't win. No, that's not, you know what happened? We just look at what you did. Sorry, it's harsh, but we just look at what you did in the server.
I think the biggest indictment on Elige's legacy is something that is completely public, which is his interview with Richard Lewis. Like, the lack of accountability he showed in that interview is something that I think we as talent talked about for a long time, but I'm just going to go public now that it was like, holy crap, you actually think that nothing in the past 8 months was your fault at all? Like, that's what we were all thinking. That's what we were all thinking when we watched it. Any fans out there that want to watch it, or Elige that wants to watch it, if he wants to go back at what his own words were, how is it not your fault that any of these things transpired, and now you're suddenly saying, oh, I wish we never did that. I wish we never did that either. And it's like, bro, Liquid is going to die by what your word is. They will listen to every thing that you say. You can't go back and say that this is not my fault. Like, they would. If you wanted to push back, you could have. So that's my biggest complaint with Elige. And I think that for the most part, he's taken a little bit more accountability in the last handful of months. At least that's what the public perception has been of him and what he's put out there. So I think that it is going into a better direction, and I think they're going into a better direction. But right now, I think the main complaint, and the reason I brought this whole point up, is that I think that Shox should be removed. But the problem is, I don't know who it should be other than a player that's already on EG or Bloppy.
I find it funny, like you mentioned EG as well, because it's interesting for me, the parallel can draw between you talking about how Liquid lives and dies by Elige's word, and you look at EG, what did it do when the results fail? Kick out the coaching staff. Malik immediately, everyone just fired by a fucking tweet, by the way, which is fucking hilarious. And it's kind of clear who they're going with in that particular camp. Stu's still there. They're listening to Stu. On the other side, you have Elige. There's interesting parallels happening over here in NACS.
I'll even say a little bit of juice for you. I heard from some interesting sources that it wasn't even necessarily the players who wanted Malik fired, and that was like an org decision or something. So either that means one of two things. Either it's true and the org just decided, right, Malik's the problem, fire him. Or the other one, and this is even worse if you have any care about EG's future, is they just lie, and they did all say private kid fire this fucking guy. But then collectively like, oh, what the hell, they're firing you, bro. Oh, you should have told me. Fuck, I would have fought for you. Too late now. Well, tell you what. My bad. It's on me. I loved you anyway. See you out the door. Because a lot of players are fake as fuck like that. Don't worry about that. They'll say one thing in a fucking Steam message one-on-one, and then the thing they say in the group chat, oh, fuck, I can't believe you have to go, Simple. We really enjoyed playing with you. Know, get the fuck out, you liars. They're all two-faced. It's okay. Want to see more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then. Or, you know, be a pleb and don't.